Hello, okay. Got in a interesting one recently. This is Akumajou Dracula, better known as Haunted Castle. The fairly infamous Castlevania arcade game, which a lot of people really hate this game. Personally, I really like it. And it's also, well, especially the Japanese version, is pretty hard to get bored. It's not easy even getting an English version, but it's way more difficult getting a proper Japanese one, which is the only one you want, because the English version was altered, and basically they took a hard but fun game and made it into just an annoying pain in the ass, which is probably why everybody hates Haunted Castle. But the Japanese version is quite good, and being that I love the series, I've been wanting these for a while. So yeah, as you can see, it's a fairly small board, fairly simple, and I'm not a chip expert, but I'm not exactly sure what these are, but I love these two ICs here, man. They're just weird looking things, and they've got, like, you know, instead of having the typical written on or printed on silk screen labels, it's like metal seals with the Konami info on them. It's kind of neat looking. And then, you know, we've got the usual just copy art, but just getting one of these is a pain in the ass. For what I've been looking for a long time. Manual, strip. Alright, so let's throw it on. So yeah, the general consensus on this game is that it's just unfair and broken. And parts of it are a bit broken. Mainly the collision boxes are kind of messed up. Some of them are just really awkward, but honestly, like the majority of Castlevania games, in fact just about all of them, before, Symphony of the Night, it's just your basic memorizer, really. And you just kind of have to learn to play by its rules. If you play by your rules, you're going to die, but play by the game's rules. And it's honestly not that hard to clear the first loop. Now the second loop, there's an evil bug where you can lose all your weapons. And it is definitely a bug, because from what I can tell, it happens completely randomly. Which makes beating the second loop one hell of a challenge, but the first loop, I think just about anyone can get through with just a little bit of practice. It's your typical old game where you just have to know where to stand and how to take on certain obstacles and what weapons to use. The graphics, some people say they suck, but the thing to remember though is this came out in '88, a whole year before Castlevania 3 on the NES did. So, for its time, everything's pretty huge. It's smooth. The animation can be a little odd looking in places, but I think that's just because everything is so big. You tend to assume that with bigger sprites would come better animation, and it could have, but it's, in my opinion, kind of more standard animation from the era with just some bigger than normal sprites, so there are a few parts in the game where, like the rock boss, he's got one attack that it's impossible to dodge. He uses it, you're gonna get hit. But the thing though, that you have to learn is the amount of health you get back between levels fully depends on your heart. So when you get good at conserving stuff, you end up, with full health every time. And yeah, it's a game you just have to learn how to play, which in these days, a lot of people don't like these types of games, but if you're a bit more old school like I am, I don't know, it's like R-Type, a game that once you learn how to love it, you always love it. But if you don't, you'll just find it frustrating and hate it. I don't know, it's just another very 80s game. It's kind of like Castle of Dragon in a way, if you remember that. It's a game that's got its flaws. It's certainly not perfect, but... Oops, messed that up. But it's still a lot more playable than a lot of people tend to give it credit for. I mean, again, it's been a long, long time since I played the English versions, which are harder and a bit broken. But then again, in the dip switches, you can adjust like how much damage you take as well as the difficulty. I've got it on everything on normal right now, which, in my opinion, works pretty well. See, like right here, I just use my stopwatch, because normally a bunch of bats will come out. There is a safe spot, but it's easier just to freeze in my opinion. And like here, you can run right through this guy. Of course, your first few times, you would never, ever attempt to do that, but, the game will actually kind of reward you for doing slightly stupid things in that regard. So, I don't know, oops, messed that up. That's alright. But even still, you fall in a pit, you don't actually die. You just go back to the last checkpoint, and you lose some health, but you don't actually die from falling in a pit. So yeah, is it hard? Yeah. And I'm playing like crap right now, but... But yeah, so definitely, if you're curious, just avoid the English versions and just play the Japanese one. Since I'm sure the majority of people out there would be emulating anyway. This was ported to PS2, in Japan only, and but sadly it's kind of a crappy port. It's basically just, a ROM on an emulator, but it's got some weird glitches in it, like the sound gets strangely louder or quieter at certain parts, for no reason whatsoever, and I can tell you that it doesn't do it on the board after the many hours I've already spent with it. So, yeah, that's broken. Also, this guy, you can just jump right over him. Shit. See, yeah, like right there, I probably shouldn't have been hit by that, but you just gotta learn to deal with it. But also the PS2 port, unfortunately, is filtered, which, it makes the graphics look really, really blurry, and there's absolutely no way to disable it. And then just freeze them and go. And I do kind of like the way the energy works, because you basically only get one life, but... Of course, if you put more credits in, you can refill it at any time. Only 3 times, but you don't even really need to. It's just... the game's pretty short. It's only 6 levels, so... I know a lot of people complain about the little Kleeman here, but... once you learn just to stand there and attack them, not that bad. Again, I'm playing like crap right now, but I have... On normal, I just barely cleared the second loop. On easy, I can clear 3. But eventually you get hit with the weapon bug. And I did find a kind of a way around it, but... See, like the harpies here, their hitbox is really, really weird. It's incredibly easy to get hit by them for, like, no reason at all. But, oops, I just messed that up. That's what I get for not paying attention, I suppose. But no, I did not want that cross. The stopwatch is your best friend in this game. It freezes everything, including Dracula. Every boss you can freeze, which is the easy way to clear the game. Although the cross key is really, really powerful. But yeah, you just gotta know when to fight, know when to run. No! Oh, it's my sword. Okay. Just gotta learn the pattern. Just take your time through it, and after a while, the game just kind of grows on you. Sure, it's got some pretty big flaws here and there, but listen to that music. How can you not want to play this? But, yeah, usually I would just freeze the upcoming boss here, but I'm not going to have that option, so... But the cross is still pretty powerful, though. So, I mean, you can tell I'm playing like crap when I've already made it halfway through the game, so... Yeah, here's where the evil bug happens. It doesn't always happen, but typically on the second loop on normal, or the third loop on easy, you tend to downgrade to your whip for no reason whatsoever. But if you actually kill the first mummy, you'll get your sword right back. For a while I thought the game was almost programmed that way, because it almost always seems to happen on the second loop on normal, but not till the third loop on easy. However, there have been a few times when the planets align that I'm on the second loop and it doesn't happen. Though it's definitely a bug, an annoying one, but if you have the stopwatch, you can still just freeze them, whip them to death, and get your sword right back. So it is kind of annoying that a few parts of this game do rely a bit on luck, but again, you know, it's an old arcade game from the late 80s. Just enjoy it for what it is. No need to really bitch about it. Heart goes right away from me. Well, just about out of time. I will do a real capture for one PC at some point. Oh, probably sooner than later. So I got it hooked up to the TV. I normally play this in the cab. It just looks a lot nicer. Love the boomerang, because it only goes one way, it doesn't come back. So yeah, if you've tried this game and you've hated it, give the Japanese version a try, because it is actually a surprisingly playable game. You just have to adjust to its little quirks, and it gets to be a lot of fun. Oh, I'll leave it right there. See you next time.